All glories to Sripad Bhakti. All glories to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Madhya Lila Chapter 10. Text 48. Tabe sabe bhume pade dandavat thana Sabba alingila prabhu prashada kariya. Translation. After this introduction, everyone fell to the ground like rods. Being merciful upon all of them, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced each and every one of them. Text 49. Hena kale aila tata bhavananda roya Chariputra sange pade Mahaprabhu rapaya. Translation. At this time, Bhavananda Roy appeared with his 4 sons, and all of them fell down at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purport. Bhavananda Roy had 5 sons, one of whom was the exalted personality known as Ramananda Roy. Bhavananda Roy first met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after his return from South India. At that time, Ramananda Roy was still serving at his government post. Therefore, when Bhavananda Roy went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went with his other 4 sons. They were named Vaninatha, Gopinatha, Kalanidhi, and Sudhanidhi. A description of Bhavananda Roy and his 5 sons is given in Adi Lila 10.133. Text 50. Sarvam Bhoma Kahe Roya Bhavananda Inhara Pratama Putra Raya Ramananda. Translation. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya continued, this is Bhavananda Roy, the father of Sri Ramananda Roy, who is his first son. Text 51. Tabe Maha Prabhu Tanre Kaila Alingana Stuti Kari Kahe Rama Nanda Vivarana. Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Bhavananda Roy and with great respect spoke of his son Ramananda Roy. Text 52. Ramananda Hena Ratna Yanhara Tanaya Tanhara Mahima Loke Kahana Nayaya. Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu honored Bhavananda Roy by saying, the glories of a person who has a jewel of a son like Ramananda Roy cannot be described within this mortal world. Text 53. Sakshat Pandu Tumi Tomara Patni Kunti Pancha Pandava Tomara Pancha Putra Mamati. Translation. You are Maharaj Pandu himself, and your wife is Kunti Devi herself. All your highly intellectual sons are representatives of the 5 Pandavas. Text 54. Raya kahe ami sudra vishai adhama tabhutu misparsha ei ishvara lakshana. Translation. After hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's praise, Bhavananda Roy submitted, I am in the 4th class of the social order, and I engage in mundane affairs. Although I am very fallen, you have still touched us. This is proof that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 5.18, Vidya Vinaya Sampani, Ramane Gavi Hastini, Suni Chaiva Svapakecha, Pandita Samadarshina. The humble sage by virtue of true knowledge sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, outcast. Those who are highly advanced in spiritual understanding do not care about person's material condition. A spiritually advanced person sees the spiritual identity of every living being, and consequently he makes no distinction between a learned Brahmana, a dog, a Chandala, or anyone else. He is not influenced by the material body, but sees a person's spiritual identity. Consequently, Bhavananda Roy appreciated Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's statement, which showed that the Lord did not consider the social position of Bhavananda Roy, who belonged to the Sudra caste, engaged in mundane activities. Rather, the Lord considered the spiritual position of Bhavananda Roy, Ramananda Roy, and his brothers. So again, we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta Madhya Lila, chapter 10, and this is the purport of text 54. Consequently, Bhavananda Roy appreciated Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's statement, which showed that the Lord did not consider the social position of Bhavananda Roy, who belonged to the Sudra caste, engaged in mundane activities. Rather, the Lord considered the spiritual position of Bhavananda Roy, Ramananda Roy, and his brothers. The servant of the Lord is also similarly inclined. He gives shelter to any person, any living entity, regardless of whether one belongs to a Brahmana family or is a Chandala. The spiritual master reclaims all people and encourages everyone in spiritual life. By taking shelter of such a devotee, one can make his life successful, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.18. Chirata Hunandra Pulinda Putkasha Abhira Sumba Yavana Kashadaya Yenye Cha Papayad Apsra Yasraya Sunjanti Tasmai Prabha Vishnave Namaha. Kirata, Huna, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abhira, Sumba, Yavana, and the Kasha races, and even others who are addicted to sinful acts, can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord due to his being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Whoever takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his pure devotee is elevated to the spiritual order and purified from the material contamination. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.32. Mahi parta vyapasritya yepi shuha papayonaya striyo vaishyas tata sudras te piyanti param gatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, as well as Sudras, workers, can approach the supreme destination. Text 55. Nijagurha vitabritya pancha putra shane atma samarpi lunami tomara charane. Translation. Appreciating Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's favor, Bhavananda Roy also said, along with my home, riches, servants, and 5 sons, I surrender myself at your lotus feet. Purport. This is the process of surrender. As Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, Manasa Deha Geha Yokichu Mora, Arpilun Tuya Pade Nanda Kishora. Saranagati. When one surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord, he does so with everything in his possession, his house, his body, his mind, and whatever else he possesses. If there is any obstruction to his surrendering process, one should immediately give it up without attachment. If one can surrender with all his family members, there is no need to take sannyas. However, if the surrendering process is hampered by so-called family members, one should immediately give them up to complete the surrendering process. Text 56. Eivani natarahibe tomara charane yabe ye ajnataiha karibe sevane. Translation. This son, Vaninath, will remain at your lotus feet to always immediately attend to your orders and serve you. Text 57. Atmiya jnane more sankocha na karibe Yei yabe ichatabe sei agyadhibe. Translation. My dear Lord, please consider me your relative. Do not hesitate to order whatever you desire at any time you desire it. Text 58. Prabhu kahe kishan kocha tumi naha para, janme janme tumi amara, savam se kinkara. Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Bhavananda Roy's offer, saying, I accept without hesitation because you are not an outsider. Birth after birth, you have been my servant along with your family members. Text 59. Dina pancha sata bitare asipe ramananda, Tandra sange purna habe amara ananda. Translation. Sri Ramananda Roy is coming within 5 to 7 days. As soon as he arrives, my desires will be fulfilled. I take great pleasure in his company. Text 60. Eta Bali Prabhu Tanre Kaila Alingana, Tanra Putra Sabe Shire Darila Charana. Translation. Saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Bhavananda Roy. The Lord then touched the heads of his sons with his lotus feet. Text 61. Tabe Mahaprabhu Tanre Gare Pataila, Vaninata Patanyake Nikate Rakila. Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then sent Bhavananda Roy back to his home, and he kept only Vaninath Patanayaka in his personal service. Text 62. Atacharya sabe loke vidya karaila, tabe Prabhu kala Krishna dase bolaila. Translation. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then asked all the people to leave. Afterward, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called for Kala Krishna Das, who accompanied the Lord during his South Indian tour. Text 63. Prabhu kahe Bhattacharya sunaha inhara charita, dakshina jiya chila inhamara sahita. Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, My dear Bhattacharya, just consider this man's character. He went with me to South India. Text 64. Bhattatari kache gela amare chadiya, Bhattatari hoite inhare anilun udharya. Translation. He left my company to associate with the Bhattaharis, but I rescued him from their company and brought him here. Text 65. Ebeyami ihan ani kadila na vedaya, yahani chaya ha'ama sane nahi aradaya. Translation. Now that I have brought him here, I am asking him to leave. Now he can go wherever he likes, for I am no longer responsible for him. Purport. Kala Krishna Das was influenced and allured by nomads or gypsies who enticed him with women. Maya is so strong that Kala Krishna Das left Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's company to join gypsy women. Even though a person may associate with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he can be allured by Maya and leave the Lord's company due to his slight independence. Only one who is overwhelmed by Maya can be so unfortunate as to leave Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's company. Yet unless one is very conscientious, the influence of Maya can drag one away, even though he be the personal assistant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what to speak of others? The Bhattataras used to increase their numbers by using women to allure outsiders. This is factual evidence showing that it is possible at any time to fall down from the Lord's association. One need only misuse his little independence. Once fallen and separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead's association, one becomes a candidate for suffering in the material world. Although rejected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kala Krishna Das was given another chance, as the following verses relate. Text 66. Etasuni Krishna Dasa Kandite Lagila Madhyana Karite Maha Prabhu Kali Gela. Translation. Hearing the Lord reject him, Kala Krishna Das began to cry. However, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not caring for him, immediately left to take his noon lunch. Text 67. Nityananda Jagadananda Mukunda Damodara Shari Jnane Yukti Tabe Karila Antara. Translation. After this, the other devotees, headed by Nityananda Prabhu, Jagadananda, Mukunda, and Damodar, began to consider a certain plan. Even though a person is rejected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotees of the Lord do not reject him. Therefore, the Lord's devotees are more merciful than the Lord himself. Srila Narottam Das Thakur thus sings, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Payechi Kebe. One cannot be relieved from material clutches without engaging in the service of pure devotees. The Lord himself may sometimes be very hard, but the devotees are always kind. Thus Kala Krishna Das received the mercy of the 4 devotees mentioned above. Text 68. Godadesha Pataite Chahi Eka Jana Aike Kahi Bayai Prabhu Ragamana. Translation. The Lord's 4 devotees considered, we want the person to go to Bengal just to inform Satyamata about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival at Jagannath Puri. Text 69. Advaita Shri Vasadi Yatha Bhakata Gana Sabhi Yashi Besuni Prabhu Ragamana. Translation. After hearing news of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival, devotees like Advaita and Srivas will certainly come to see him. Text 70. Hei Krishna Dase Diva Gode Patana Eta Kahitare Raki Lena Asvasiya. Translation. Let us therefore send Krishna Das to Bengal. Saying this, they kept Krishna Das engaged in the service of the Lord and gave him assurance. Purport. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected him, Kala Krishna Das became very, very sorry and began to cry. Therefore the Lord's devotees took compassion upon him, gave him assurance, and encouraged him to continue to engage in the Lord's service. Text 71. Aradine Prabhustane Kaila Nivedana Ajna Deha Goda Deshe Pata Eka Jana. Translation. The next day, all the devotees asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please give permission for a person to go to Bengal. Text 72. Omara Dakshina Gamana Suni Sachiyai Advaitadi Bhakta Sabha Ache Dukkha Pai. Translation. Mother Sachi and all the devotees, headed by Advaita Prabhu, are all very unhappy due to not receiving news about your return from your South Indian tour. Text 73. Ekajana yaikahu subhasa machara Prabhu kahe se ikara yei chatomara. Translation. One person should go to Bengal and inform them about the auspicious news of your return to Jagannath Puri. Upon hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, do whatever you decide. Text 74. Tabe se Krishna Dase Goda Pata Ila Vaishnava Sabha Kedite Mahaprashada Dila. Translation. In this way, Kala Krishna Das was sent to Bengal, and he was given sufficient quantities of Lord Jagannath's food remnants to distribute there. Text 75. Tabe Gora Deshe Aila Kala Krishna Dasa Navadvit Gela Tenha Sachi Ai Pasa. Translation. Thus Kala Krishna Das went to Bengal, and he first went to Navadvip to see Mother Sachi. Text 76. Mahaprashada Dhiye Tandre Kaila Namaskara Dakshine hoite alir Prabhu kahe samachara. Translation. Upon reaching Mother Sachi, Kala Krishna Das first offered his obeisances and delivered the food remnants, Mahaprasad. He then informed her of the good news that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had returned from his South Indian tour. Text 77. Suniya Anandita Haila Sachi Matramana Srivasadi Arayata Yata Bhakta Gana. Translation. This good news gave much pleasure to Mother Sachi, as well as to all the devotees of Navadvip headed by Srivas Thakur. Text 78. Suniya Sabara Hoila Parama Ulasa Advaita Charya Gruhe Gela Krishna Dasa. Translation. Hearing of Lord Chaitanya's return to Puri, everyone became very glad. Krishna Das next went to the house of Advaita Acharya. Text 79. Acharyera prashadadiya kari namaskara samyakahila mahaprabhu rasamachara. Translation. After paying him respectful obeisances, Krishna Das offered Mahaprasad to Advaita Acharya. He then informed him of the news of Lord Chaitanya in complete detail. Text 80. Suniya Acharya Goshanira Ananda Haila Premaveshe Hunkara Bahu Nritya Gita Kaila. Translation. When Advaita Acharya Goswami heard of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's return, he became very pleased. In his great ecstasy of love, he made a rumbling sound and danced and chanted for a long time. Text 81. Haridasa Thakurera Haila Paramananda Vasudeva Datta Gupta Murari Shena Shivananda. Translation. Also hearing this auspicious news, Haridas Thakur became very pleased. So also did Vasudeva Datta, Murari Gupta, and Shivananda Sena. Text 82. Acharya Ratna Ara Pandita Vakresvara Acharya Nidhi Ara Pandita Gadadhara. Translation. Acharya Ratna Vakesvara Pandit, Acharya Nidhi, and Gadadhar Pandit were all very pleased to hear this news. Text 83. Sri Rama Panditara Pandita Damodara Sriman Pandita Ara Vijaya Sridhara. Translation. Sri Rama Pandit, Damodar Pandit, Sriman Pandit, Vijay, and Sridhar were also very pleased to hear it. Text 84. Raghava Panditara Charyana Nandana Kateka Kahiba Ara Yata Prabhu Ragana. Translation. Raghava Pandit, the son of Advaita Acharya, and all the other devotees became very satisfied. Text 85. Suniya Sabara Haila Parama Ulasa Sabe Meli Gela Sri Advaitera Pasha. Translation. Everyone was very much pleased, and together they arrived at the house of Advaita Acharya. Text 86. Acharyera Sabe Kaila Charana Bandana Acharya Goshani Sabare Kaila Alingana. Translation. All the devotees offered respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of Advaita Acharya, and in return Advaita Acharya embraced them all. Text 87. Dinadui Tinacharya Mahotsava Kaila Nilachala Yoite Acharya Yukti Drudha Kaila. Translation. Advaita Acharya then held a festival that lasted 2 or 3 days, after they all made a firm decision to go to Jagannath Puri. Text 88. Sabe Meli Navadvipe Ekatra Hana Niladri Chaila Sachi Matara Agyanalana. Translation. All the devotees met together at Navadvip and with Mother Sachi's permission departed for Niladri, Jagannath Puri. Text 89. Prabhura Samachara Suni Purina Gramavasi Satyaraja Ramananda Milila Sabeyasi. Translation. The inhabitants of Kulina Grama, Satyaraj, Ramananda, and all the other devotees there came and joined Advaita Acharya. Text 90. Mukunda Narahari Raghunandana Kanda Haite Acharya Ratani Aila Nila Chalayati. Translation. Mukunda, Narahari, Raghunananda, and all the others came from Kanda to Advaita Acharya's home to accompany him to Jagannath Puri. Text 91. Sekale Dakshina Hoite Paramananda Puri Ganga Tire Tire Aila Nadiya Nagari. Translation. At that time, Paramananda Puri also came from South India. Traveling along the banks of the Ganges, he ultimately reached the town of Nadia. Text 92. Aramandire Sukhe Karila Vishrama Aitandre Bhiksha Dila Kariya Samana. Translation. At Navadvip, Paramananda Puri took his board and lodging at the house of Sachimata. She provided him with everything, very respectfully. Text 93. Prabhuda Agamana Tinha Tahani Sunila Sigraha Nila Chalayarte Tandra Icha Haila. Translation. While residing at the house of Sachimata, Paramananda Puri heard the news of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's return to Jagannath Puri. He therefore decided to go there as soon as possible. Text 94. Prabhura Eka Bhakta Vijakamala Nama Tanrelana Nilachare Karila Prayana. Translation. There was a devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu named Vija Kamalakanta, whom Paramananda Puri took with him to Jagannath Puri. Text 95. Satvare Asiya Tinha Milila Prabhure Prabhura Ananda Haila Pana Tanhare. Translation. Paramananda Puri very soon arrived at Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's place. The Lord was very happy to see him. Text 96. Prema Veshe Kaila Tandra Charana Vandana Tenha Prema Vesha Kaila Prabhude Alingana. Translation. In a great ecstasy of love, the Lord worshipped the lotus feet of Paramananda Puri, and in turn Paramananda Puri embraced the Lord in great ecstasy. Text 97. Prabhu kahe Toma Sange Rahite Vanchaya More Kripa Karikara Niladri Vyas Ashraya. Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Please stay with me and thus show me favor, accepting the shelter of Jagannath Puri." Text 98. Paramananda Puri kahe Toma Sange Rahite Vanchakari Goda Hoite Chali Ailana Nila Chala Puri. Translation. Paramananda Puri replied, "I also wish to stay with you, therefore I have come from Bengal, Gauda, to Jagannath Puri." Text 99. Dakshina Hoite Suni Tomara Gamana Sachiya Nandita Ara Yata Bhakta Gana. Translation. At Navadvip, Mother Sachi and all the other devotees were very glad to hear about your return from South India. Text 100. Sabe Asit Sabe asite chena tomare dekite. Tansabara vilamba deki ailana tvarite. Translation: They are all coming here to see you, but seeing that they were delayed, I came alone very quickly. Text 101. Kasimisvera advaisha nibritte ekagara Prabhu Tamre Dila Ara Sevara Kinkara. Translation: There was a solitary room at Kasi Mishra's house, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave it to Paramananda Puri. He also gave him one servant. Text 102. Aradine Ailasvarupa Damodara Prabhura Atyanta Marmi Rasera Sagara. Translation: Sarup Damodar also arrived the next day. He was a very intimate friend of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was an ocean of transcendental mellows. Purport: Swarupa is the name of a brahmachari in Shankaracharya's disciplic succession in the Vedic discipline. There are 10 names for sannyasis, and it is customary for a brahmachari assisting a sannyasi of the designation tirtha or ashrama to receive the name Svarupa. Damodar Svarupa was formerly a resident of Navadvip, and his name was Purushottama Acharya. When he went to Varanasi, he took sannyas from a sannyasi designated tirtha. Although he received the title Svarup in his brahmachari stage, he did not change his name when he took sannyas. Actually, as a sannyasi, he should have been called tirtha, but he chose to retain his original brahmachari title as Svarupa. Text 103. Purushottama Acharya Tandra Nama Purvashrame Navadvipe Chilitenha Prabhuracharane. Translation: When Svarup Damodar was residing at Navadvip under the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his name was Purushottamacharya. Text 104. Prabhura Sanyasa Dekhi Unmatahanna Sanyasa Grahana Kaila Varanasi Giya. Translation: After seeing that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the renounced order, Purushottama Acharya became like a madman and immediately went to Varanasi to take sannyas. Text 105. Chaitanya Nanda Guru Tandra Agyana Dilena Tandra Vedanta Padiya Pada Samasta Lokera. Translation: At the conclusion of his sannyas, his spiritual master Chaitanyananda Bharati ordered him, read Vedanta Sutra and teach it to all others. Text 106. Parama Virakta Tinha Parama Pandita Kayemane Asriyache Sri Krishna Charita. Translation: Sarup Damodar was a great renunciate as well as a great learned scholar. Within heart and soul he took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 107. Nischinte Krishna Vajiva Eita Karane Unmade Karila Tinha Sanyasa Grahane. Translation: He was very enthusiastic to worship Sri Krishna without disturbance. Therefore, it was almost in madness that he accepted the sannyas order. Text 108. Sannyasa Karila Sikha Sutra Chyaga Rupa Yoga Patana Nila Nama Haila Svarupa. Translation: Upon accepting sannyas, Purushottama Acharya followed the regulated principles by giving up his tuft of hair and sacred thread. But he did not accept the saffron-colored dress. Also, he did not accept a sannyas title, but remained as Nastika Brahmachari. Purport: There are regulative principles governing the renounced order. One has to perform 8 kinds of shraddha. One must offer oblations to one's forefathers and perform the sacrifice of Viraja Homa. Then one must cut off the tuft of hair called a sika, and also give up the sacred thread. Those are the preliminary processes in the acceptance of sannyas, and Swarup Damodar accepted all these. However, Purushottama Acharya did not accept the saffron color, a sannyas name, or a danda. He retained his brahmachari name. Actually, Purushottama Acharya did not accept the sannyas order formally, but he renounced worldly life. He did not want to be disturbed by the formality of the sannyas order. He simply wanted to worship Lord Sri Krishna without disturbance. Therefore, with heart and soul, he took up the renounced order, but not the formalities accompanying it. Renunciation means not doing anything but serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. When one acts on this platform, trying to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is both a sannyasi and a yogi. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6.1. Sri Bhagavanu Vacha Anashrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karotiya Sanyasi Chayogi Cha Na Niragnirya Chariya Chakriya. The blessed Lord said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obliged is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no work. Text 109. Gurutani Agya Magi Aila Nila Chale Ratri Dina Krishna Prema Ananda Vibhale. Translation. After taking permission from his sannyas guru, Swarup Damodar went to Nilachala and accepted the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then all day and night, in ecstatic love of Krishna, he enjoyed transcendental mellows and the loving service of the Lord. Text 110. Pandityera abhadhi vakya nahi karo sane nirjane rahaye loka saba nahi jane. Translation. Swarup Damodar was the limit of all learned scholarship, but he did not exchange words with anyone. He simply remained in a solitary place, and no one could understand where he was. And thus ends our reading for today. All glories to Sripad, Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnupad, Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Dhanyavad.